Hey guys, in this week's episode, we are going to go over our most anticipated films for 2021. And that's it. That's all we're doing because that should fill up a whole episode's worth of stuff. So if you want more, check out one of our other episodes where we do more stuff than that. But this week, just that. Here we go.
Welcome to the Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinx. My name is Chris, and with me as always is a man who anticipates his anticipation, Mike. How you doing today?
Pretty good. You can't imagine the anxiety I have from so much anticipation of anticipating.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've never seen anybody do so much anticipating. Also with us is a man who you cannot put Tree of Life on your most anticipated list. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I wish I could put Tree of Life, or like Tree of Life 2 would be amazing if that was coming out this year. I'd be first in line to buy tickets.
All right, guys, if this is your first time listening to the show, I think you heard at the top of the show, this is not a normal episode. Normally, we like to start off every episode in a section called News on the March, where we talk about film and TV that we have been watching, or news. But this week, we're going to forgo the News on the March, and we are going to go straight into counting down each of our top 5 most anticipated films for 2021.
We're not anticipating things here on Casual Cinecast. What we like to do every other week is a casually criterion episode. And what we do is we each pick a film, and then we put it out to the listeners to vote on which film we're going to do for that casually criterion episode. Last week, we picked 3 films and we put it out to the listeners. And Mike, can you please tell us the winner of that poll?
Why, yes. Thank you for asking. It was my film that I chose, and that people voted on the most, because it won, and that is Frances Ha. And then I believe in second, it's a Mad World with 33.3%. And then number 3 was Sword of Doom, which I believe was Chris's choice with 22.2%. I gotta say, it's kind of bittersweet because I would have happily watched either of those other 2 movies.
Yeah, I guess in the end, Noah Baumbach gets the last laugh because it's Frances Ha.
Well, and me, because I've never seen it. I think I'm the only one here who hasn't seen this, right?
Actually, I haven't seen it either, but I'm excited about it.
Well, then I feel a little less bad.
Yeah, I'm excited for both of you because I have seen it and I like it a lot. And I'm looking forward to watching it again, even though I think just a couple months ago I watched it. So this will be a pretty recent rewatch, but that's exciting to me.
Good. Well, I'm glad there's no sour grapes.
Me too.
So that's a whole nother movie.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you want to vote in our poll to choose our next Casual Criterion film, or just keep up with what we're doing, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Casual Cinecast. We put the poll out on our Twitter, so that's really the best place to follow us. If you want to send us any questions about the movies we're reviewing or topics you'd like us to see us discuss, you can send messages to any of those social media accounts or email us at casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you haven't done so already, go on to iTunes, give us a 5-star review, subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. It helps grow the show. It helps us feel good, like people are listening and enjoying what they're hearing. And if you don't like something, put that in the review and maybe we can fix some of the issues that people have.
Just be like, 5 stars. They suck.
Yeah, we can't fix that issue. That's done.
Yeah.
Some things you're born with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to go ahead and just move into the most anticipated films of 2021?
Real quick before we do that, actually, the one thing I did want to mention is that our good friend, buddy podcast, Cinemus, just put out an episode this week. They've been on hiatus for a little while, and they asked me to guest on the episode in which we reviewed Richard Linklater's Boyhood and decided on whether or not that was a cinemust, a film that everybody must see or not.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw that pop up in my podcast feed, and I was excited about it. So
I did too. I you told me you watched that the other day, and I forgot the reason you watched it. So whenever I saw it pop up, I was like, "Oh yeah." So
Justin's cheating on us again.
Yeah,
but only with the best.
That's true.
But yeah,
I am interested. I know how you feel about Boyhood. I'm interested to see if you rated it a cinemust, trust, or Bust. Is that the other one, right?
Yeah. That's the other one. So
I know one of which you didn't rate it. I know that, but I want to know
yeah.
which of the other two you might have.
Well, I won't spoil that. I will say that the previous times I've guessed it, I went with films that I really, really liked or loved. That I was a big fan of, films like Singing in the Rain and Tree of Life. And this time I wanted to go in the opposite direction and have to talk about and maybe defend a film that I wasn't the biggest fan of, right? That isn't one of my favorite films of all time. And, also a film that the host, Mike, and I had a difference of opinion on, right? So instead of just getting to gush about a film, we actually had a little contention,
So you fought. You guys got in a big fight.
No, not really. We're both too nice to fight with each other, but it still, I think, makes for maybe a more interesting discussion than just gushing.
I don't know. I think that sounds fun. I would like to see a difference of opinion, especially on that movie. If someone, anyway, just listen to the episode, everyone. This is not Cinemusts.
True. Well, that might make it on here one day because it is a Criterion film. So
it is, and who knows what you'll think then? Maybe the same thing. Maybe a different thing.
Maybe. Who knows? Third rewatch might be the charm.
Yeah. Okay, so now, are we ready to go ahead and go into our most anticipated of 2021?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do this thing.
Think how good it's going to taste when it finally gets there. It's slow good. It's keeping me waiting.
All right, so before we get going on these, just a caveat that you may notice some of these films appearing again from our episode on the most anticipated films of 2020 that we did about a year ago. There's obvious reasons for that because COVID, so many films got pushed back and they're now on the 2021 calendar and we're still really excited about them. And also, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying not a lot's changed. I'm still looking forward to some of these movies and we'll see them at the first available chance.
This is kind of a part 2 of last year's episode. So you could probably go back and listen to last year's episode, and a majority of them will be still coming out.
Movies we ultimately did not get to see.
Right, yeah. And also, COVID is still around and times are a little bit uncertain in terms of film releases. So some of these may get pushed back anyways and end up on our 2022 list. So it's a little silly in some ways to do this, not knowing how many things will come out. But you know what? It's fun to talk about things we're excited to watch.
Yeah. So sit back and have some fun.
It's Under the Silver Lake all over again.
Yeah. But on a massive scale.
Yeah. But every movie, and for a good reason.
Yeah. Well, cool. On all of those notes, I'm going to toss it over to Mike. What is your first, well, not your first most anticipated film, but I guess you'd start with your fifth. Or are you even ranking them?
No, I'm not. I was about to say, I'm not even going to really rank them because since they're all movies that I haven't seen and I'm looking forward to for various reasons, I don't know what's going to be best. But what I will do is I am going to start with one that I know for a fact was on last year's list, just to get it out of the way.
Okay.
All right. So the film that I am putting as my fifth most anticipated film is Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I think the only thing that has changed in the last year is we have a trailer.
True.
And it might premiere on HBO Max.
Yeah, it seems to be going to premiere on HBO Max on October 1st. Unless things change, which they probably will. But who knows? But this still looks pretty cool. It's got Oscar Isaac, Timothée Chalamet, Dave Bautista, Rebecca Ferguson. A bunch of other people, I'm pretty sure. And the trailer looks cool.
Is Zendaya in it as well?
Oh, yeah, Zendaya. I don't know how you say her name. But yeah, she's in it too. I forgot about her.
Yeah, it's got a great cast.
Yeah. And the trailer looks really, really cool. So this would be on my list, but since you put it on, I'll replace it with something else.
Yeah. And Denis Villeneuve kind of described it as like an adult version of Star Wars, which sounds cool to me.
I really like Denis Villeneuve a lot. Really, that's all I need to know in order to go to one of his movies. I don't need to know anything else. If it's Denis Villeneuve, I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
pretty much
the
at
guy
the same
can
point.
capture mood. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at the same point with Villeneuve. Everything he does, I don't always love, but I do love films like Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival. I thought were fantastic. So, on those two films alone, I'm here for whatever he does next, just on the chance that they come close to as good as those movies.
Yeah, I think Blade Runner 2049 is really the one where he took, kind of like what could have just been like a hack job for the studio and turned it into like a legitimate, good science fiction film. So,
Yeah.
I trust him at this point with just about anything they hand him.
Cool.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so that is my first anticipated film. Chris, what is yours?
Okay, so some of the things I've chose for my list aren't necessarily movies that I'm particularly looking forward to. I also like the chaos that is going on around the films. And where else can you get chaos but Warner Brothers in the DC films? So one of the films I chose was The Suicide Squad. I'm really interested in what they do with this film after Suicide Squad came out and it was a mess, and how they change it and what differences there's going to be in this. It's just like a really weird thing that they decided to go ahead and do the Suicide Squad with. But I also kind of thought that about the Guardians of the Galaxy, and James Gunn really made a great film in those. So I'm really interested to see what happens here. These chaos movies are sometimes really interesting and can be really good. So I'm interested in seeing what happens here. What about you guys?
Well, I agree with you in the sense that I don't compared to what DC has put out so far, like the last ones with like Justice League and Suicide Squad, they can't do any worse. So I'm
Right.
I'm curious to see that they are so confident in this movie that they are like keeping almost the same name, some of the same cast. Like they must be really confident in this thing because I don't know of anyone who likes Suicide Squad, right? So unless James Gunn is going to do something really different with this thing, and I've heard he is. I've heard it's like a hard R and like very adult. That intrigues me a little bit. Like as far as the property goes, I don't care about it at all. I think Harley Quinn's pretty annoying. Her whole character just needs to go away and stop trying to be a thing. But I would like to see James Gunn be James Gunn again, like the James Gunn from the 90s and like the early 2000s that I kind of remember more. I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't want to say they have neutered James Gunn's voice, but it's very family friendly, right? And this
It's the PG-13 version.
Right, and I would like to see James Gunn do what he started out with, being a little bit more edgy and a little bit more adult themed.
More of the trauma James Gunn.
Yeah, or like
Yeah.
films like Super that was a little bit more violent and bloody and adult.
Right, or even Slither to an extent.
Oh, yeah. I always forget he did Slither, which is a fun movie.
Yeah. So, like I said, that era James Gunn is what I would like to get more in touch with these days. And I'm hoping Warner Brothers gives him the free pass to do just kind of whatever he wants,
What do they have to lose? Nothing.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Well, I don't know, Justin. You were kind of quiet on that. What do you think about Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad? Excuse me.
Well, I never saw the first one because it didn't look that great to me. And
Yeah,
I
it
heard really
wasn't, so
bad
don't.
things. So to me, I guess I would kind of approach this with a blank slate. So that maybe makes me excited that I don't have like the bad taste of the other one in my mouth. I might be anticipating it more than most.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that couldn't hurt because the thing that I guess that makes me not anticipate this is the DCU track record so far.
Yeah, well, that's
DCU
I have seen
or
those.
whatever it's called.
I have seen those, and that doesn't bode well. But who knows?
Which is actually kind of what attracts me to this. Because DC has had such a bad track record, I'm just interested what's going to happen with this movie. And that's kind of what's drawing me to it more than almost anything else. Just like,
Sure.
can they, like what's going to happen here, So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never want to be the person who, stops watching the game at halftime when one team's losing real bad and think it's over and miss the giant comeback, right? Like,
Yeah.
you never want to be that person. So maybe this is the time, right?
Yeah, good analogy.
Cool. All right, so Justin, what you got?
All right. So my first one is a film that I didn't think I was anticipating, but the more I think about it, I kind of am. And, you know, it's not going to be a big deal to a lot of people, but it's a film that is a sequel to one that I watched a lot as a kid that I really, really like. And I even watched it recently, and I think it still kind of holds up and is a fun little movie. But that is the sequel to Coming to America, which is named Coming to America, where the two is a two, starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, I was actually, I heard about this, and I wasn't super looking forward to it until I saw Dolomite Is My Name last year.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and then I was like, God, I missed Eddie Murphy. I did not realize how much I have missed, like, comedic, like, silly Eddie Murphy with his stupid smile and his, like, laugh. You know, like, it's just, it makes me happy, you know, like, so I am right there with you. I would love to see just, like, this movie and just crack up watching Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall again. Yeah,
exactly. Like, he's so charming and fun and charismatic that, like, it's impossible to not watch him, you know? But obviously, I really like Dolomite Is My Name, and to see that he still has that in his tank makes me very excited for this one. Like I said, I loved the original. I really love Bowfinger. And, you know, even as a kid, like, I enjoyed the first Nutty Professor. And
yeah.
And just some of his other stuff, like, I think he's really funny. So this has me excited.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I was thinking that the other day whenever I saw the trailer, and I was like, I really got to go back and watch the first Coming to America again.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't remember how long ago I watched it. It was maybe a year and a half, maybe a year, 2 years ago, something like that. But it's good stuff.
Pretty recent then, huh?
Yeah.
It was more recent than I have.
But
nice.
That's all I have on Coming to America, really. So I'll toss it back to Mike.
Okay. My second film of my 5 most anticipated, I'm going to go ahead and jump up in my list and include a film that wasn't on mine last year, but I don't want you guys to steal it.
All right.
And that is a film called The Green Knight.
Ooh.
Damn it.
This one was on my list.
I know. I thought it might be because how could it not be? It's so cool looking.
Yeah.
It comes out July 30th, and it is directed by the very versatile David Lowery. And God, this movie looks cool. Have you guys seen the trailer for this movie?
Yeah, back in the before days.
Yeah, the before times.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks really awesome. I was really anticipating it.
Yeah, I remember seeing a short trailer. I don't know if I've seen the full version. If there's a full trailer.
I've only seen a trailer. I think there only maybe one trailer as far as I know.
Okay, then yeah, I've seen it. And it does look cool.
Dave Patel in a Arthurian legend. That sounds pretty cool to me.
Did you say Dave or Dev?
Dev.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, Dave Patel. No. Dave Patel. No, Dev Patel.
Yeah. And also Alicia Vikander.
Yeah. And there's someone else in it too who's Joel Edgerton, which isn't really a draw, but I like that guy.
Yeah. And Sean Harris, who was enjoyable in the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, all of this sounds good to me. Like, not a thing about this movie does not seem right up my alley.
Yeah, I really like David Lowery a lot. I don't think I've seen a film of his that I don't like, but I don't know what the tone of this one will be. I think it's pretty dark, and maybe darker than his other stuff.
Yeah, based on the trailer, it seems like an artsy. I don't know. Like, it looks weird. It's got like giants in it and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how crazy they're gonna go.
Yeah, the Green Knight's like an Arthurian tale.
Yeah, it's one of the Arthurian. It's one of the Knights of the Round.
Yeah, and I just seeing what he does with, not only, a crime story like Old Man and the Gun and how he puts his own spin on that, but also something artistic and simple like a ghost story or something super family friendly that's a Disney remake like Pete's Dragon, like him putting his touch into all of those things and those sort of ideas, I think elevated them, especially with things like Pete's Dragon.
Well, okay, didn't he do Ain't Them Body Saints as well?
Yes, yeah, he did that.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, but of all the other ones you just mentioned that I have seen, I will say that his movies, on their, like, if you read the plots to any of those movies, they may sound a little cold, maybe not Pete's Dragon. But when I watch all of those movies, there's a certain warmth to him, to his touch and his artistic feel that like each of those movies has, even something really bleak like A Ghost Story.
Yeah.
There's something very warm and sweet and emotional about it that it doesn't seem as cynical as someone like Denis Villeneuve, you know?
Yeah.
David Lowery, I don't know if he has a style, but if I had to say it, I would say that he is really good at capturing like a tone in a movie to make it seem less bleak.
Yeah, and like milking the emotion out of, a story that other directors might focus on like the plot or the movie a little bit more and miss out on some of the emotion. Yeah.
So when, I never really thought about David Lowery that way, but as I go into The Green Knight, I'm going to try to remember this conversation and see if I feel that way.
Yeah.
When his approach to like an Arthurian legend,
Yeah, we'll see.
It should be interesting. And to your like Pete's Dragon commenting too, he's going back to the Disney well and he's going to do a Peter Pan and Wendy movie. So that should be interesting as well.
That's exactly what the world needs, more of those Peter Pan movies.
I don't know how much we need of
we
that.
haven't had enough.
So,
the other thing too, I think Dev Patel was right there to have a great 2020 because he had the personal history of David Copperfield, which I haven't seen yet. It's out to stream, but I haven't seen it yet. And The Green Knight. So I think he may have been poised to have a great 2020, but COVID just kind of destroyed that. So hopefully, it doesn't damage anything too much.
The one thing that sucks about COVID.
Yeah. The one thing, yeah.
All right. So, Chris, what's your second anticipated movie?
Yeah, sticking with movies that I'm more curious about and interested in finding out what's actually going on. I'm going to go with The Matrix 4. I find that they're doing a fourth one really interesting because no matter what you think about the original trilogy and all that, it wrapped up, I think. It felt like it was there's a period at the end of those three movies. So I'm interested to see what they do next and where they go from here. And whether it's just a cash grab or if there's actually something to be said here in that world. And I'm anticipating it for that reason.
Yeah, I think.
Where do you guys stand on this?
I think you could ask that question of Matrix 2 and 3 as well, if they were just cash grabs or had something to say.
Yeah, I was about to say, I told myself I was going to watch the Matrix trilogy again the other day because I started thinking about some scenes from Reloaded and Revolutions, and I was thinking, maybe it's good. Maybe I was wrong, and I got too into sometimes the popular culture can do your thinking for you, if everyone's hating on something. And I did not make it through the second one. I was so over the moon at the end of the first one, and I was like, I have so much momentum. And then as soon as it gets to the massive rave orgy in the city, Zion or whatever the crap it's called, and Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah.
Screeching halt. I was like, what is this crap? This is so bad.
Yeah.
And, oh man, that second one is just so long and so overstuffed. Mm-hmm. I didn't even make it to the third one, so.
Yeah, no, I literally did the same thing a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. Whenever I realized they were all on Netflix, I maybe made it through 30, 40 minutes of the second one, if that. And I was like, nope, this is awful. It's pretty unwatchable.
Yeah, it's just, man, they got far up their own ass, I guess, when doing those sequels. But, a dump truck of money, I'm sure, can do that to you. But I think the main red flag here for me is, only one of the Wachowskis is coming back to do it.
Right.
So it's half of the talent behind this one. And also, I don't think the Wachowskis have done a single good thing that I have liked since the first Matrix movie. And before then, I don't think they did anything then. Like, I don't think Bound is a very good movie. So
I never saw that one.
yeah, so I don't know. I love the first Matrix, and I would hope they recapture some of that magic, but I'm hoping they get someone else to write it.
I haven't seen much things that they've done.
Cloud Atlas or Sense 8 on Netflix.
Since Speed Racer, I've missed everything they've done.
Oh, I forgot they did Speed Racer.
Do kind of
I like
like
Speed Racer more than the Matrix sequels.
Yeah, me too. And V for Vendetta. Oh, they didn't even direct V for Vendetta, did they?
No, they didn't direct. I thought they did.
Yeah. So never mind.
Yeah, I think I haven't rewatched the movies in quite some time. You guys have seen it more recently than I have. But oftentimes, and I think you were talking about popular culture, like doing your thinking for you, I've had the knee-jerk reaction of like, they're not as bad as everyone says. So maybe I need to go rewatch them, and maybe they are as bad as everyone says. But I just have that like, come on, guys, they're not that bad. That's my reaction to them.
Yeah. So watch them. Yeah, I'm sure I will try again before the fourth one comes out. I'll at least try to watch the third one.
Yeah, I think that's something that's going to happen this year for me, too. So that was my number 2. Justin, what's yours?
Yeah, so mine, I'm going to go with one that I believe was on my list for last year in 2020 that got pushed back, and that is Last Night in Soho from Edgar Wright.
It was. It's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm a big Edgar Wright fan, at least in the sense that I don't love everything that he's done, but like even the ones I don't like, I think are, pretty enjoyable. Like I don't know that he's made a bad movie that I can think of. And this one I think sounds really interesting. From what I understand, it's a horror film. I don't know that there's much plot details out on it. Maybe there is now, but it's a horror film. I think he cited things like Repulsion as a influence on it, and I really like Repulsion from Roman Polanski a lot, and it's one of my favorite horror films. And also it has Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie in it, who are both actresses that I think are really, really great. So I'm excited to see them collaborate with him. And
Anya Taylor-Joy's had a good year.
She has, and I think that's going to keep going.
She's it right now.
She may or may not be on one of my movies coming up too. So
nice,
but it's a completely different movie.
Good, well,
good.
Cool. But yeah, I don't know if you guys know anything about this. I mean, Edgar Wright for me is one of those names that I'm there no matter what it is. I'm in theaters.
The only thing I know about it is what you told us last year in this episode, which I've forgotten.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't remember too much of what it was. I don't even know that I knew that it was a horror film last year or a quasi.
I don't think we
film.
did actually.
Did we?
Yeah, I don't think so either, because that was a new bit of information to me.
Yeah, that seemed new when I was doing some research for this episode.
Cool. Well, yeah, Edgar Wright, it's like I'm there for that, Like you said, I don't love all of his movies. Actually, I don't think Scott Pilgrim's the most funny movie. Like I know a lot of people really love that movie, but man, did he direct the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the source material that much. I don't think it's that deep or anything. But man, did he elevate that material to something totally unique and totally like watchable and just impressive to look at. And it's just like, it's fun. It's like feast your eyes on Scott Pilgrim versus the World, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's got great style. You can't say that he doesn't.
Yeah, I admire that film more than anything else. Like I just watch it kind of in awe and admiration of the directing on display. I tend to feel that way. I think he was a little more subdued in Baby Driver.
Yeah, a little more, less stylized, less comic booky, but still very Edgar Wright.
Yeah, it is, but that was interesting to see to me as well. Like a film that didn't just like reek of style. It does have style, don't get me wrong, but like it'll be interesting to see if he goes more stylized on this one, like Hot Fuzz or Scott Pilgrim or Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I can't help but think it's going to be sort of a lighthearted horror. I can't imagine him going full-fledged, like, I don't know. Crazy horror, but maybe.
No, I think there'll be humor or it'll be fun, Will it be something a little bit more like Shaun of the Dead or a little bit more like the Don't trailer from Grindhouse?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How funny is Anya Taylor-Joy?
It's a good question.
I'm guessing. Cool. Well, all right. But that's it for for Last Night in Soho for me, so I'll toss it back to Mike.
All right, so I'm going back to repeats of last year. I'm pretty sure I was the one that had this. It makes the most sense. But I'm justifying it by saying that within the last year, I have watched more of the series that it is a sequel to than I did whenever I recorded this last year. And that is The Many Saints of Newark, which is a prequel to The Sopranos.
Yeah. And that's going to be one of those HBO Max ones that gets released there simultaneously with theaters, right?
Yeah, in September as of now. And it is directed by Alan Taylor, who did Thor 2, which isn't good, but he also directed many episodes of Game of Thrones and The Sopranos. So he does understand the material, and he is a capable director. So I don't know. I'm worried about this, but I'm hopeful, right? The Sopranos is so good, and having just watched like the final seasons a few months ago, I could say that it holds up, and it's just such a rich, well-written show with some really memorable characters. And the entire first season of The Sopranos, you can hear them talk about Tony's dad being like, he was a saint, all the time. So it's going to be really cool to go back and finally see, those shoes get filled. And it's also cool because James Gandolfini's son, who looks a lot like him, is playing a young Tony Soprano.
Nice.
Which hopefully works out to a nice homage and not a distracting decision. But I don't know anything about the story. All I know is I love this world. I would love to go back and, have like an El Camino to Breaking Bad. I'd like to have like a version of that for The Sopranos to revitalize interest in the series and, I don't know, maybe add new insights or reflections.
I was thinking about this one earlier today as I was going over my list, and I think the best thing that this movie can do is make me watch The Sopranos again. Just get so super excited about it and dive in. And I really hope it does that. I'm really excited about this.
It's kind of already doing that job for me, though, because I am very, very tempted to try and go back and watch Sopranos again before the film comes out.
Dude, it's so good. It's such a freaking good show. Like, you could see the identity. Like, there would be no Mad Men without Sopranos. You know what I mean? Like, the very adult, slow, contemplative drama. Yeah, it's punctuated by, flashy mob violence, but man, is that show so good.
That's never what I remember when thinking back on Sopranos, like the flashy mob violence.
Yeah, it's usually like Tony Soprano, like, crying or being sad about something.
Yeah. I did rewatch, I think maybe all of or most of the first season a few years back when I intended to rewatch it, and then I got sidetracked with other shows and other things and never picked it back up. But, the news of this movie might fire me up to do it again. Or, maybe it's cool to wait and watch the movie and then revisit it, We'll see.
Either way, you can't go wrong as long as you watch it again eventually.
That's right.
Cool. So, Chris, what you got?
All right, I've moved away from the curiosities for next year into movies that I am just extremely excited to watch. This one is the new film by Robert Eggers called The Northman, starring Anna Taylor-Joy, and it's actually got a pretty cool cast. It's got Alexander Skarsgård in it. Nicole Kidman is in it as well. Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe. So it's got a great cast, and somehow they were able to finish shooting this during COVID. I'm sure over like in Iceland or wherever they filmed it, things are a lot better. But they were able to finish filming it. I will say there's not like a set release date, but most people are predicting it will come out this year. So this is kind of... and really, we don't know what's going to happen with any of these movies, so I don't feel bad putting it on there. But yeah, I've loved all the Robert Eggers' other films, and I'm glad it didn't take as much time like The Witch and The Lighthouse in between movies like he did with those two movies. So I'm excited to see him dive into this. I don't know much about the plot or anything like that. I don't really need to, except for it's about Vikings, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Where do you stand on this?
I'm a huge fan of The Witch. I think The Witch is super good. Not scary, but I think it's super good. And that's exactly the kind of horror movie that I am interested in.
Mm-hmm.
The Lighthouse is super unique. and I think about it all the time. I think it's like a really interesting little dark, almost a horror tale. I don't know what it is really. It's just this rare bird of a movie, you know? But yeah, I am totally on board. Like, I can't wait to hear what kind of dialect he goes with. You know, he commits to this old dialect all the time and does a lot of research to make sure it feels authentic, you know. And I don't know that no one else is making movies that feel like what this dude is doing. So I am there. Yeah, I don't even care what it's about. It could end up being a musical comedy, and I will be over the moon, I'm sure, at least with anticipation.
Yeah, would you be more excited if he just came out and was like, his next film's a musical comedy like West Side Story?
Dude, that'd be nuts. Like, based on The
it
Witch
being about
and
Vikings too.
The Lighthouse. Yeah. That'd be crazy. But I don't know. What do you think, Justin?
I really enjoyed The Lighthouse. And you kind of took the words out of my mouth that I was going to say about it, is that, you know, nobody's making films like he does. All of his films feel really unique and one of a kind, even though they may have some like similar tones and similar things with, like, you know, not modern English sort of dialects. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I've loved any of his films yet, but everyone that I've watched has felt like a very unique experience, and I feel like, well, I haven't really seen anything like that before. So
Yeah, for
whatever it is, I expect more of the same. You know, more of that super unique viewing experience. So that excites me.
Yeah, it's almost like, I mean, I do like both of his movies so far, but his movies are almost so unique that, like, if I didn't like them, I don't know if that would, like, I almost like it can be my fault, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to say that because, like I said, I do like them, but it almost feels like they're so unique that even if I wasn't crazy about them, I would be like, well, no, it makes sense that this movie's popular.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, you're right. I mean, for me, that's definitely, you know, I did like The Lighthouse, but didn't like The Witch as much. But even then, my thoughts are, it's probably better if I watch it again, no matter how I felt about him, right? Like, I should probably watch that again before coming down on like a final judgment of this movie's great or this movie sucks, or, you know, anything in between.
Yeah.
All right, Justin, what's your next one?
Okay, so my next one is a film I know very little about. And the reason that I'm excited about it is because this studio's track record has been very good for me as of late with films like Coco and Soul, which we just reviewed recently. Ooh. But that is the new Pixar film coming out that is called Luca. And I don't know much about it. The IMDb synopsis is on the Italian Riviera, an unlikely but strong friendship grows between a human being and a sea monster disguised as a human being. And if you look at the animation, it doesn't look like a Pixar movie like you would expect. I don't know. It has this own sort of, it almost looks cheaper than a Pixar movie, but these are also very early images, and I'm sure they're still working on them. Mm-hmm. But I just, like I said, on the track record of things like Toy Story 3 and Coco and Soul and Inside Out I haven't seen yet, but also things like Up and WALL-E, I pretty much get interested in any Pixar movie, but especially I think they've figured it out lately after a few falters. And I'm sure this is incorrect, but one of the interesting things to me about this movie is that according to IMDb, the budget for this movie is $75.
Yeah.
And
that's fascinating.
If they're pumping out a movie for $75 under the Pixar name, I want to watch it. That's a joke.
It looks like South Park.
Like original South Park, like the original special
cardboard.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to milk that joke any longer because it wasn't that great. I mean, it's true that IMDb says that. That's not a joke. I just know that that's not real. Okay. What do you guys think?
This is a film that I actually don't know anything about. Like, you just told me more than I already knew about it. And
yeah. So
based on that, it sounds fun. Yeah. Like, sea monster disguising himself as a human sounds like a fish out of water tale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I think Pixar's kind of spoiled us to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I've ever seen a Pixar film that is bad. I mean, I haven't seen The Good Dinosaur. People really dislike that one.
You should.
But
it sucks.
But for the most part, even if it's not as good as like, Toy Story 2, or any of those, like, top shelf Pixar, there's still good movies. Like Onward from last year, one of the last movies I saw in the theaters. But like, while it's certainly not my favorite Pixar movie, and probably on one of the lower end of the Pixar films that I've seen, I still like it. I still had a good time with it. I still had fun, which is not a thing I can say for a lot of children's movies or kids' movies. Oftentimes they are able to, put in these adult themes, and even in Onward, makes you tear up a bit, you know?
Yeah, I didn't mention Onward, but that's in there as a recent hit for me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think for me, it doesn't matter. It's like Denis Villeneuve. It's got Pixar. I'll anticipate it. I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I think, Pixar doesn't put out 100% hits all the time. There is the occasional Good Dinosaur, or something I don't like some sequel to Cars, or I wasn't as crazy about Monsters University, but it wasn't terrible either. I don't know. So
yeah.
They've got enough mediocre stuff like Incredibles 2 and whatnot, but they've also got some really exceptional stuff, and more exceptional stuff than most studios ever put out. So
Agreed.
I think no matter what they put out, until I'm dead, I will probably always seek out the newest Pixar film just to check it out, because, more times than not, I'm rewarded with emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to Justin's analogy about quitting in the middle of the game. You got to keep going because it could be a hit, it could be really great. You can't skip it.
That's right. Although their track record is much better than DC.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for Luca for me. So we're back to Mike.
All right, so 2 more each. So I am going to be doing a film that is a sequel to a film that came out in 2018. This is part 2 of a trilogy, apparently. And this is Halloween Kills, directed by David Gordon Green, which
Nice.
comes out in October, if you can imagine that. Here's the thing about this. I would have told you after Halloween 2018, that was good. No more of this, please. But then they came back and said they had 2 more to film back to back, and then they would be done. So, I don't know. I am interested to see what story they feel is interesting enough to do 2 more of these and then end it finitely, So, I don't know. I find it pretty interesting, even though I don't necessarily think it should exist or needs to exist. The fact that it is, and the fact that they did 2 back-to-back and seem to have an end point in mind, makes me hopeful that it's a story worth telling.
I think what you're saying about Halloween Kills is probably what I would have said about Halloween in 2018. Do we really need another Halloween? And it turns out that movie is really pretty great. And so I like that they're keeping the same people together, and hopefully they maintain that level of creativity, and it's not just a cash grab, which it is a cash grab. All movies are cash grabs.
Right. That's what I assumed the first one was, right? But then I also thought it was sort of a labor of love, because I know Danny McBride was one of the writers on it, and I don't know if Danny McBride is returning to do either of the follow-up films. Not that I think his voice is a must, but I don't know. I think it's either way. I trust David Gordon Green for the most part. He's got some misses in there, but the guy is not afraid to try new stuff and play in different genres. So I like the energy and creativity he tends to bring every time he jumps into a new genre. I think, he did wonders for the improv stoner comedy with Pineapple Express. I was getting pretty tired of the improv stoner comedies, the Seth Rogans and the James Francos and all those that were coming out pretty hot and heavy for a while. But then Pineapple Express is the best one of them, in my opinion, or one of the best one of them. And so I don't know. I think David Gordon Green is capable of pulling off anything if he sets his mind to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did look up the Halloween Kills, and it does look like Danny McBride is on there. I don't know if that's just because he
a
wrote the
producer or
first one
something.
and it carried over. Well, he's underwritten by...
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I am excited about it, and for the same reasons, that Halloween 2018 was surprisingly really good and enjoyable. The thing that I did like about that one was that, they'd come out, I think they come out initially and said, like, that was it. They weren't going to do other ones, right? And then they decided to do 2 more. Am I misremembering that, or did they initially say that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Well, I guess I had this impression that it was going to be the last one. So, like, I kind of enjoyed the finality of that one. But one of the things that always annoyed me about it, with it potentially being like a final chapter without sequels, was that, spoiler alert, they don't necessarily stick around to make sure that Michael Myers is dead in the end. So
Right.
that really annoyed me. So I hope that them putting that in the movie makes it worthwhile.
Well, I think it's actually kind of cool because I was wondering, I was like, man, I don't know. We didn't see him die, but like it would be really difficult to believe he didn't
Yeah.
based on how that movie ends and then continuous spoilers. But when the the teaser came out for Halloween Kills and like it shows them driving away and then like the fire trucks rushing to like put out the fire.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, don't go back there. And you're like, oh, okay. At least they explained pretty quickly how he managed to get out of that. Assuming, or like, assuming that's how he gets out of it, right? But
Yeah.
someone goes and extinguishes the fire. So at least it was a graceful way of getting yourself out of that, I guess.
Yeah. It just makes me more annoyed at the characters, though.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I think that's just a standard thing, though, with a movie like Halloween. I kind of go in expecting that annoyance because oftentimes that's what happens
Yeah.
in those movies. I did want more out of Halloween because I thought the rest of it was so good and turned things on its head.
Yeah. I'm here
but
for
yeah.
more, for sure, because it is
Yeah.
enjoyable.
All right. So, Chris, what have you got?
So, for my second to last one, I have Judas and the Black Messiah. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. There's been some trailers. I think maybe this was supposed to come out last year, maybe late last year.
Is this with Lakeith Stanfield?
Lakeith Stanfield and Jesse Plemons and Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
And, it's about Lakeith Stanfield has to infiltrate like a Black Panthers group. And I like those 3 actors. So I don't know much from Shaka King. I haven't seen any of his other films. But, back to the Denis Villeneuve analogy, you put those 3 actors in a movie, and that's all I need to know, Like, it's got Jesse Plemons, Lakeith Stanfield, and Daniel Kaluuya, and I'm in. Like, if anything else, it's going to be 3 great performances, I think. So I'm super excited about this one. And it also comes out really soon. So February 12th. So this won't be a long wait. And I think it's probably fairly set in stone that it'll be out on the 12th. So I'm excited.
Sooner than I thought.
Yeah. I saw that one was coming out pretty soon, and I've heard really, really good things about it. Just I haven't really heard much about what it's about necessarily. Just like what word of mouth I had has, been saying that it's good and that people are really excited about it, which, that can be contagious. So I'm excited about it in that sense. But yeah, I don't know much about it other than we'll be able to watch it pretty soon.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those weird films, too, that I think is probably going to be eligible for the 2020 Oscars, even though it came out in 2021. So it's going to be one of those weird films that's like kind of on the cusp. Like, where do we put it at the end of the year? Like, is it a top 10 for 2021 or was it 2020? One of those weird films. One of the casualties of COVID, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, that's not a big problem, I don't think.
If you watch it between now and our next episode, put it on your best of 2020 list. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Justin.
Yep. So my next one is a film that is another, I think, repeat from last year, but this year we have a trailer for it, and that is Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch.
Nice.
Yes. Yes.
I'm pretty excited about this one. I really like at all of Wes Anderson's live action movies, and then some of his animated movies. But at the very least, I like them all a little bit. Yeah, this one I think is pretty exciting. I think the trailer looks really fun. It's about a magazine called The French Dispatch. And from what I understand, reading the synopsis of it that are out there, it's a collection of stories that are published in this magazine, The French Dispatch. So it almost sounds like a bit of a sort of anthology.
Real Buster Scruggs situation.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know. That sounds fairly interesting to me, even though, I want to see Wes Anderson play with characters that are around for the long term and go over that journey. That idea intrigues me more than anthologies do, but it is something different. And that sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like a good anthology. There's not many out there, but I like a good one. And I like to see Wes Anderson in any kind of live action thing. Like, I guess what I would like to do, though, is see Wes Anderson tackle different genres, but hopefully in an anthology, he'll be able to kind of, I don't know, stretch his legs and maybe do some interesting little bits in there. I'd like to see him do a horror or like a slapstick or something. I don't know. I would just like to see him expand on what it means to be Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think for a little while, The French Dispatch was rumored to be a musical, so I think he could, maybe we even said that last year because it was a ways off. But I do think Wes Anderson, like, branching out, doing something different would be interesting, but I can't see him getting too far away from his style.
Well, I don't even want him to be far from his style, but I would just like his style to be able to incorporate more. I think the reason Grand Budapest, I think, is probably peak live action Wes Anderson, as far as later Wes Anderson goes, is because he tried a lot of stuff in that. There's use of miniatures that he got from Fantastic Mr. Fox. There's, he plays with aspect ratio. He even has action scenes that are not necessarily action, but action for Wes Anderson, I feel like he's trying a lot of stuff in that doesn't, it feels like Wes Anderson, but it feels like Wes Anderson pushing himself in directions that he had not ventured into yet, in that film at least. So more of that, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, if this truly is such an anthology movie, I mean, that's a different genre enough to me to see if he can pull it off.
Yeah, anthologies are a hard thing to get right.
Oftentimes, at least with the ones that I've seen, it's like, well, some of them are really good and then some of them are bad. So, like, how do I even judge this movie as a whole, right? Like, it makes it hard. I don't know, it seems really hard to do that and then, like, just consistently nail it when you're inherently going to have some that are better than others.
Sure.
It's hard for it to feel like a solid, good
Piece.
Or great movie, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it helps when they're tied in theme. Right, if there's something like, I think, and I'm sure Wes Anderson, like, if it's all messages or like stories within a French Dispatch, I'm sure there'll be recurring themes. But like, I know you didn't like it much, but I liked Buster Scruggs, and I think the reason that one actually did work for me is because even though some stories were more comedic and some were more dark and etc., they all had to deal with facing death in the Wild West. You know what I mean? So it was all kind of dealing with that in a different way. I also think of like Four Rooms as like an example of like a bad anthology, but some of them are good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he does it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm anticipating it, as they say.
There you go.
Cool. And with that, I'll go back over to Mike for your last one.
All right. So my last film is a film that is a sequel, if you can imagine. A sequel coming out these days. But this has been filming off and on throughout the year and famously has had lots of people observing it being filmed, and that is Mission Impossible 7. These films, I just eat them up, man. I've seen every single one of them in theaters. I've enjoyed every single one of them to varying degrees. Ever since Mission Impossible 4, it seems like they just keep maintaining like a very high level of quality, like, well filmed, well choreographed, impressive action sequences that no one else is doing. You know, they have a weight to them because you know they're in real locations doing real stunts, and it doesn't feel like, you know, Avengers Endgame where you're like, yeah, there's a lot of people doing impressive stuff, but they're all kind of in a studio on wires. You know, this has sort of like this visceral energy. These Mission Impossible films do, and I think Fallout was the best one yet. And so, I don't know. I like the idea, again, of McQuarrie and Tom Cruise going out there and filming two of these things back to back and just, you know, knocking them out. So, yeah, I'm just completely here for crazy stunts that are over the top and 60-year-old Tom Cruise pushing himself to the limit to entertain me. I want to let him do it. So,
yeah, I think what we said when we reviewed Fallout was that these films have basically become like must-see spectacles. You know, it's like, come see what crazy stunt they pull off next, and like, you know, what other various stunts are in this movie. You know, it's almost like this really novel thing now that doesn't come along that often. We may be trending a little bit more towards that with, I think some other things are starting to do similar stuff, or at least I think we'll see a shift towards it, because it's one of those things that just makes these movies so successful in terms of like everybody goes out to see it because it's something different.
Right. But, you know, it's not just that. Like, you know, I'm thinking of some movies that have like really impressive fight sequences, right? And that's one thing. That's one way to do visceral action. I've noticed an uptick in that ever since The Raid came out. It feels like a lot of people have really tried to kind of emulate that really close quarters, chaotic, rapid action. You know, yeah. John Wick is kind of like The Raid with guns. It's like that really fast-paced, visceral energy. Like, that stuff to me is cool, but that's not what makes Mission Impossible so good, right? Like, right. What makes Mission Impossible so good is the same thing that makes Mad Max Fury Road so good, and that is just, I don't know, a really excellent storyboard, doing things with the camera where you're like, that's hard. That's hard to do. I wouldn't have done that same amount of work to do that thing, but I'm glad they did, you know? Like, the amount of, like, real people doing real stuff, you can just tell the difference. As good as technology and special effects are getting, you know, Fast and the Furious does not look like Fury Road, and John Wick does not look like Mission Impossible. You know, there are just certain movies that just pull off that ballet of action, that dance choreography of action in a way that some just don't. Even like ones with impressive choreography, like that Netflix movie with Hemsworth that came out this year.
Oh yeah, Extraction.
Yeah, you know, a decently filmed action sequence, lots of impressive stuff in there, but none of it compares to the same oomph that like Mission Impossible Fallout had, or, you know, something like that. So I don't know. I hope they don't let me down and then, you know, start filming the climactic sequence of this movie like in a studio against a green screen. So don't let me down, Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise.
I don't think they will. That's not their brand.
No, I don't think so either. So yeah, that is my fifth film. So that is all my most anticipated. Chris, what you got? What's your last one?
So with my last film, I wanted to go with a surefire film that I know is going to come out this year. We talked about Devil Wears a Blue Dress last year sometime, and that kind of got me missing, you know, like the crime dramas. We don't get a lot of those anymore, like the kind of like mid-tier crime dramas. And so I went with The Little Things with Denzel Washington. This comes out January 29th, so it's just right around the corner. There's no way this doesn't come out. I say that, but now it'll probably like get pushed back. But the tagline is 2 cops track down a serial killer. That's all there is. I'm in for it. Denzel Washington as a cop tracking down a serial killer. I'm excited about it. The one drawback to this is it is John Lee Hancock as the director and the writer, and he doesn't have the best track record for me. He's done things like The Rookie and The Blind Side. He did do Saving Mr. Banks, which I really did enjoy. So he's kind of got a mixed track record, but I really am excited for like a good mid-tier detective story with Denzel Washington detectiving it up. What do you guys think?
I haven't heard of this film, but sure, yeah, why not? I'm down for it. I don't know anything about it, nor have I seen a trailer for it, nor do I like any of those films that you just mentioned. But, but why not? I'm down.
Yeah. I like this genre, like the serial killer hunting genre. And I don't know that it's going to be as good as films like Zodiac or Seven,
Probably not.
But
Yeah,
Denzel's good. I mean, we talked about it when we reviewed Devil in a Blue Dress, right? Like that Denzel is so charismatic and just like can carry lesser movies and elevate them. And
right.
So I think we'll see what we get here. And I'm looking at IMDb. John Lee Hancock, born in Longview, Texas, so he's a Texas man. So
nice.
We got to support him, obviously.
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah. We had such a crazy year in 2020. I just needed something that I could put my foot on and say, this is coming out.
It's not big enough.
Milestone.
It's not big enough to be worth like postponing. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It was also part of that HBO Max deal, like where they were going to release things at the same time in theaters and on HBO Max. So I doubt that it gets pushed back. So
Gotcha.
And it's only like a week away, 10 days away. So it's not like, some crazy stuff is going to happen, which has happened in the last year. So
Yeah.
who knows? I don't want to count my chickens, but this is the firmest thing I can plat my foot on and say, I'm anticipating this and I'm so sure that it's going to come out. I
love that.
It's the best thing. It's my cornerstone, guys.
Awesome.
All right.
It's your totem.
So that's my last
sure
one.
you're not in a dream.
Yeah, I spin it around. Anyways, Justin, what is your last movie? We're wrapping this up, huh?
Right. Yeah. So this is our last one. And, us being a podcast that likes to discuss Criterion Collection films and art house films and classics, there's no more fitting film to wrap this up with than my last film. And that is Jackass 4. Which
I hate you so much.
Genuinely, I am very excited about this film. I love the Jackass series. I love the movies. Some parts are better than others, but overall, I will be in the theaters as soon as possible to watch a Jackass movie, and I will keep going, no matter how many they make or no matter how many fail, just because I don't know what about this show necessarily really works for me. It's is it seeing people get hurt? Is it seeing people do dumb stuff? I don't know. There's just something about it that I've always been in love with. And I didn't really expect any other Jackass movies after the death of Ryan Dunn, who's one of the main cast members after Jackass 3 had come out. And I thought, well, they're going to be done because it's just going to be too awkward. And especially some of the real life things that some of the cast members have gone through since then. Not all of it has been great, and some of them don't seem like they're in the best shape. But the news of this coming back just kind of totally surprised me a few months ago when that news dropped that they were going to be filming one and that it would come out in 2021. There's actually not even confirmed news of which of the cast members will be back and which won't, or if even it's like going to have the same director from the show and the movies, but we'll see.
Who got hurt? Someone got hurt the other day filming this. I know Johnny Knoxville got hurt, and then someone else doing a treadmill stunt. Was it Chris Pontius?
Oh,
I can't remember.
I don't know.
I read that someone had to go to the hospital while filming it.
Steve-O. Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O in the hospital.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, my.
Which, they're always getting hurt, but they're much older, so they're probably getting hurt even more.
Yeah. Approaching 50, so.
Mm-hmm.
A lot like Halloween Kills, I thought they wrapped up the story with Jackass 3, and they didn't really, there wasn't much more to say.
Yeah, I mean, once you film a lot of dildos flying through the air in 3D. I mean, that's kind of where do you go narratively
Yeah.
from that? I'm not sure.
Yeah. What arc is left to tell?
Yeah. But I am excited, unabashedly. I love these.
Cool. Well,
That's just gonna be a bunch of middle-aged guys.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I hope it's better than Jackass 3D because I remember not liking that one very much in theaters. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it since theaters, so I don't know if I would still feel that way. But I remember when that was over, I was like, I think they've gone as far as they can go with these.
There's parts of it I don't like, but there are parts of it that are worthwhile
Yeah.
to watch for the gold. Look for those moments.
Yeah. Well, maybe something to explore here. I don't think it's any one thing. I'm going to comment on why I think you love these movies. I don't think it's any one thing. I think, yeah, it's the stunts. Maybe, yeah, it's the silliness or whatever. But I think what's always been so infectious, and when I hear you talk about it, I think what makes the Jackass thing so unique from just any idiot on YouTube is the camaraderie involved.
Yeah.
Like, they all seem to be having a good time hanging out with that in mind. They're there to do, they all know what they're there to do, right? And they're all just sort of filming a movie and having a good time. And that very much makes it into the movie, and you can kind of see their connections with one another and their friendship. So, like, whenever they hit each other in the nuts, whenever, like, someone's already hurting and then they'll walk up and hit someone in the nuts to make them hurt worse, there's always, like, a sense of, like, oh, they're just goofing around,
Yeah. It's a little
that's
infectious.
always sort of been the appeal to me.
Yeah, it's infectious, and like their enthusiasm for doing this, and like even the bits that fail and aren't as funny, like sometimes they're having such a good time doing them and trying to make them work that
Right.
they can turn it around. But we'll see. But I think I remember when the first movie came out, coming off the heels of the TV show, it felt like they were really strapped for ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took like a couple of years off, several years, and then released Jackass 2. And it seemed like that time in between really allowed them to like reset their brains and come up with a lot of fresh ideas. And I think similarly that happened from 2 to 3, but we've also had a long, long time since Jackass 3. So,
Right.
that also excites me that they may just have so many new ideas and so much time to like make it fresh again.
Yeah. I
We'll
agree.
see. Awesome. Well, that is it for me and all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, did you guys have any honorable mentions that you just want to like name real quick without talking about too much?
I was just looking. Sounds weird, but I'm actually kind of interested to see Emma Stone's Cruella de Vil movie.
Right? Yeah.
Not enough to pay for it or anything, but, I like Emma Stone. I think she would be a good Cruella de Vil.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's just on Disney Plus, but if you already have that, you won't have to pay for it. But
I do.
yeah, I like Emma Stone. I'd be interested in it. I don't have high hopes for it, though.
No, me neither.
But it's one of those curiosities too. Like, can they do it? We'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure it'll be bad, even if like she pulls it off. I just kind of was more talking about like I want to see what she does with the character, not so much
Okay.
see a movie of her with that character, but I'll still see it.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that way about the Ghostbusters sequel. The trailer
Yeah, why
looks
not?
fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of why nots left for me, like Uncharted, the Uncharted movie, Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg. Half of that sounds bad. The Mark Wahlberg part.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm down for an Indiana Jones style adventure, as long as they don't try to remake the game and make it its own thing, make it work for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing that maybe intrigued me that might be slightly above why not level was Don't Look Up, the Adam McKay sort of apocalypse movie.
Huh? Okay.
He's been on a interesting streak as of late, and it's got Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Evans, Timothy Chalamet, I think, and a lot
That's
of
a
other
cast.
people. a lot of other people.
Yeah, it's got a crazy cast. Yeah.
But I interested to see him take on this sort of like comet coming to destroy the Earth.
Yeah, I agree. Last one that I would say anticipating, and mostly because I'm just curious at how they're going to pull it off, is the third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys been following the news for this thing?
Yes.
It seems insane.
Yeah,
I think we're going to find out a lot more from WandaVision where it's going. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know WandaVision is supposed to tie into Doctor Strange 2, which is supposed to tie into Spider-Man 3, so it's going to get wacky.
Yeah.
I really think WandaVision is going to set like the tone for the next like chapter of the MCU movies.
It's
that's
very
my guess,
it's refreshingly Lynchian so
Different.
far.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like
WandaVision.
based on the trailer. I haven't watched the episodes yet, though.
It's a slow burn. I would wait until maybe there's more so you can binge them.
Yeah.
It seems
Wait
a
till
little.
at least the third episode.
Yeah, maybe once the third episode comes out, I'll feel differently. So far, it just seems really slow, but I'm not out yet. I'm still in, but I would
Nice.
like it to be a little faster paced.
I'm sure it'll build to something like that.
Yeah, but like I said, refreshingly Lynchian in like a unique feeling way that feels unlike the MCU, which is nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that
The
was
only one that was.
a sidebar.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
The only one that was kind of left on my list, out of the 8 that I wrote down, you guys took 2 of them, but was Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of John Wick movies, I'm pretty sure this is choreographed at least by one of the people that are also part of the John Wick family. But like, this looks really interesting, and the curiosity level of seeing Bob Odenkirk in a John Wick type movie
Heck yeah.
is really, really awesome. So we'll see what happens, but I'm interested in it.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait for Better Call Saul season 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we did a TV,
If we could include TV, that would be on there. And maybe
Yeah, it'd be
even
above
like
everything.
Ted Lasso might get on there. If that's got a new season coming out, which I think it might.
All right. Well, anyways, next
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
we should be doing our next Casually Criterion. The winner, like we said, was Francis Ha. So that'll be our next episode. And then after that, I believe we will be doing our top films of 2020. So playing catch up.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for doing this episode with me. Of course, as always, thank you, listener, for listening. And then thanks, Jake Wagner Russell, for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bopscotch.
Bopscotch.
Thanks so much for listening, guys, and we will talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
See you later. I can't wait to talk about The Many Saints of Newark again and most anticipated of 2022.
Yeah.